Good morning. I have the sun coming in right through one of my windows, or I guess it's my door, right in my face. I'm just gonna wait a couple of minutes and see if anyone's joining us live. I love these two recipes. My son, who's 4 months old yesterday, is currently napping and loves to wake up right in the middle of my live videos. So it is very possible that I will have to go grab him. I have his little rocking chair behind me so that if I do, I can just kind of put him in there and entertain him while we cook. So we're gonna make two recipes today. The first one we need to make, because I need it for the second one, and that's our peanut butter. We made a batch of this last Monday and it was officially gone as of yesterday. So the recipe calls for 3 cups of roasted unsalted peanuts and a half a teaspoon of salt. When you purchase the deluxe cooking blender, that recipe comes in the cooking guide, and there's a few cooker's tips with it. So it says if you buy raw nuts, so if you're using like cashews or walnuts or raw peanuts that have not been roasted, it recommends that you roast them on a cookie sheet or a baking pan for 10 to 12 minutes in the microwave, or in the oven, sorry, before you use them in the blender. The peanuts that I bought were roasted unsalted, so I do not have to do that. They also recommend if you buy like a salted nut not to add the additional salt that it calls for in the recipe. In the cook guide, there are multiple nut butter recipes. So there's peanut butter, there's cashew butter, there's super grain, so there's a mixture of nuts, almond butter. It's all in that cooking guide that comes with the cooking blender. So I'm not sure if you guys saw or not, but all of our electronics, so the deluxe cooking blender, the deluxe air fryer, and the quick cooker are on for 25% off this month, which is huge, huge savings. And if you are a past host, then you get an additional 10% off, or if you are a host, you can use a 50% off item on the sales price. So it's awesome that they're allowing us to stack rewards. So when you purchase the cooking blender, it comes with the base and it also comes with the glass canister. So it just goes on like this, and you'll see that it cooks up to, if you look here, 6 cups hot and 7 cups cold. It does have a cover that comes off so that you can tamper it down if you're cooking something like we're gonna do today. And just to let you know, it actually has a heating element in it that cooks. It's not just the frictions from the blades that are cooking your meals. So when you go and you do a soup in this, it is cooking it like it would in the oven or on the stove. So it has a heating element in it. It's not just using that friction force. So that's what's really awesome about it. And one of the best parts about this blender is that it cleans itself. So we have a number of settings on this blender, and I could not live without this. We use this daily. There's a smoothie setting, alternate milk, grind, soup, heated puree, which is going to come in super handy for us, jam and sauce, and then the heated wash setting, and I'm going to show you how that works after. Additionally to the blender, you can purchase a smoothie cup adapter. So what it does is it clicks on just like this. It comes with a individual smoothie cup and the cover to the smoothie cup, and then you just click it into place and you can make individual smoothies. So we have a couple of these cups here because my husband and I tend to use this regularly. So ours tends to sit with the smoothie cup adapter on it most often, but it just comes off easily. And then today we're gonna use the actual glass canister. So you can hear, it tells you when it's in place properly. If I take the lid off, it'll tell me that the lid is off and it won't start until the lid is on properly. So we're just gonna do a quick batch of peanut butter. So I've got 3 cups of roasted unsalted peanuts. It calls for 1/4 of a teaspoon of salt. I'm really terrible and don't tend to measure my salt. So that's just the Pampered Chef salt grinder right there. So this might be a little bit louder because it is going to grind up, but it doesn't take very long. So I'm going to set my settings to grind, and I'm going to push start. Now I'm going to take my cover, I'm loosening this cover here because I'm going to have to use the tamper to push down the nuts, because as they start softening and cooking, they're going to try to creep up the walls, and we want to push them down so that they do grind all the way. So we're going to start here just by pushing this. Canceled that, so it automatically sets it for 2 minutes and 20 seconds, but I find it takes about 1 minute and 20 seconds when you're doing the peanut butter. So you'll see here that when I was grinding it, it does come onto the tamper and it's a nice consistency. So I'm going to show you what that looks like, and all we're doing is we are taking it and I'm pouring it into a silicone prep bowl. It has a cover on it so it seals it nicely, and it will stay in the fridge, refrigerated for 4 to 6 weeks. I'm going to turn over to this side because the sun's right in my eyes. So it will stay refrigerated for 4 to 6 weeks. So all we're going to do now is, you can see there is a little bit of heat coming off. Oh, and there's my son. There is a little bit of heat coming off, so it was cooking it. It was roasting the nuts. And then all we're doing is I'm taking this scraper and I'm scraping the peanut butter just into the silicone prep bowl. So this batch is a little bit thicker than my last one. I probably could have grinded for a little longer, but this is fine because what's going to happen is as it sits in the fridge, it thickens anyway. Just 1 sec, guys. I'm going to have to go grab him. Alright, so this is Edward. This is our 4-month-old. So he tends to like to wake up during live videos, especially if we're using the blender. It's a little bit louder, but it's not terrible. So I'm just going to put him in his little chair here and hope that he is occupied by watching Mommy cook. Hey, there you go. Here, can you use Susie? So we also have a 2.5-year-old, but she's at daycare today. Alright, so let's get back to putting that peanut butter. There we go. So I'm just gonna scrape this out of here. And this is what's so awesome about the fact that the blender cleans itself, is that we have these tools so that we don't have to get in there and get our hands all dirty to get the peanut butter out. And then it's gonna really clean itself, and you just have to kind of give it a wipe afterwards, because it does go through a heated wash, which is great. So let's see if I can get a little bit more out of here. So this long skinny scraper was designed for the blender, so it is a nice thick, it's almost like a rubbery material, so that it doesn't get affected by the blades when you're in there trying to get your smoothie out or peanut butter out or whatever it is that you're scooping out. It's designed perfectly for this. There. So for our second recipe, we're actually going to be using this peanut butter, which is great. Put this aside. Just going to do a little bit of a scrape here to see if I can get a little bit more out there. All right, so that is all done. So that was our first recipe, how to make homemade peanut butter. And then, like I said, all I do is I put the silicone cover on and I store it into the fridge, and it's good for 4 to 6 weeks when refrigerated. Now, for the heated wash, what you're gonna do is it measures in cups. So you're gonna put 3 cups of water and then a little bit of dish soap. You put the cover back on. Switch it to heated wash. Oh, cancel that, there we go. Switch it to heated wash. Where are we? There. And you just push go. So I'm actually just gonna move this over to the side. No, you know what, I'll show you. It's because I'm gonna get my recipe ready for my second recipe anyway. So it does a little quick pre-wash, and then it's at 82 degrees right now, and it's going to heat to 141 degrees before it starts to wash. And then it takes about 1 minute and 40 seconds once it reaches that optimal temperature, and it will clean it completely. So I'm gonna just move this off to the side, and we're gonna cook the other recipe. And I actually have a video that I can show you of it pre-washing. So now we're on to the second recipe, which is like my main breakfast recipe for this week. And it is the baked oatmeal, and we're going to be using the mini muffin pan to do that. So the mini muffin pan creates 8 little mini loaves. These are really great for individual servings. You can keep them in the fridge or you can put them in the freezer. It's gorgeous. It's got that Tiffany blue bottom. Other items that I've used to bake this in is our brownie pan, our mini brownie pan, any of our bakers. You can bake like a whole batch and then cut it up afterwards. I just like the individual portions that the mini loaf pan gives. So if we look at the recipe, it's very simple. It calls for 2 overripe bananas. So I've got 2 bananas in here, and I'm just using my mix and mash to mash them up. So mine aren't quite overripe. They probably could have used another day on the counter, but it is what it is. So we're gonna use our mix and mash these up. Nice and small.
How you want to?
So you can see that it's all mashed up in here now, just by using our mix and masher. This is really great with potatoes, bananas, sweet potatoes, avocados, anything that you need to mash up. So that is the first part. Then so I'm gonna add all my wet ingredients first. So I've got my 2 bananas, then it calls for 1 large egg, lightly beaten. Just gonna use my scraper here. There we go. It does call for a 1/4 cup of creamy peanut butter, 1 teaspoon of vanilla, and a 1/4 cup of pure maple syrup. So we're gonna use our peanut butter here. All right. Sorry, I was reading a message. I thought maybe it was one of you guys. So this is our measure all cups. So these are really great because if you're working with peanut butter or honey or maple syrup, or even if you're stuffing a turkey, this allows you to do all those messy jobs without having to touch it and without having to make a mess. So if I'm going to do a 1/4 cup, Shade, that's our dog. There we go. So this is a 1/4 cup right here. So I'm going to fill this with peanut butter. So I'm just taking my scraper and I'm scraping the peanut butter into the measure all. And this is the peanut butter that we just made. How cool is that? All right, so there's a little bit more than a 1/4 cup. Okay. Pop it in, scrape the remainders off, and there you go, nice and clean. Then it calls for a 1/4 cup of maple syrup. I'm going to use that same measure all cup. Pop it down to a 1/4 cup again. Pour in my maple syrup. Pop that right in there just like that. All right, so now what do we need? Vanilla. We need 1 teaspoon of vanilla. So I have our adjustable measuring spoons. This comes in a set of 2 with a smaller spoon and a bigger spoon. So the small one goes up to, it goes from 1/8 of a teaspoon all the way down to a teaspoon. And the larger one goes from a teaspoon down to a tablespoon. So we're gonna do, this is our double strength Madagascar vanilla. It was a holiday special available from October to December 31st. Because it's double strength, I do half the amount the recipe calls for. So I'm only putting in a 1/2 teaspoon instead of an entire teaspoon. There. Then we're into mostly our dry ingredients until the very end. So it calls for a 1.5 cups of rolled oats. I'm going to pour that in. Cinnamon, I'm using our Cinnamon Plus, and it is 1 teaspoon of cinnamon. I'll actually measure it. I was just going to eyeball it, but I will be more accurate and measure it today. There we are. And then 1 teaspoon of baking powder. Hey, boo. And 1/2 teaspoon of salt. And then the very last thing we're gonna add is 3/4 of a cup. It calls for almond milk unsweetened, but we actually use the soy milk in our house, so that's what we'll be using. And it is 3/4 of a cup of it. So really any milk works. Almond milk or soy milk is a little bit on the more health conscious side than regular milk would be, but it depends on what you drink in your household. All right, so that is all the ingredients, and then all I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna combine them all. I'll show you what it looks like here in a second. What you doing? All right, so it just looks like oatmeal would. And then now what we're gonna do is I'm taking our mini loaf pan and our large scoop, and I'm gonna scoop it in to each well. And it takes about 2 scoops for each one. So I've had the oven preheating at 375, and it cooks for about 18 to 20 minutes, but I just kind of keep an eye on it. Oops. And this makes like one perfect batch. So I'm gonna go back and put the second scoops in those front ones. So normally when I am doing this, I will make 2 batches. And then what we do is we'll freeze some and we just keep it in the freezer. Our 2.5-year-old really enjoys these. Sometimes I'll even throw like some chocolate chips in it for her just to like make it a little bit different. And then when these are done, I drizzle peanut butter over the top, and then it'll harden as it sits in the freezer or the fridge. So this is what these look like. So I'm gonna throw these into the oven, and then what I'll do is I'll take a picture when these are done. I just set them out on our cooling rack and let them cool before I pack them up and put them in our fridge. So if you have any questions about the 2 recipes we made today, that being our baked oatmeal loaves and our natural peanut butter, please reach out to me. I did show off a couple of our products as well while we were baking it. This is a great video to go back and rewatch if you're ready to make some later on. I know with time zones, there's definitely some people in the party that would not be awake yet. So you can definitely watch the replay and comment below when you do and let me know. And then tomorrow we're going to be coming live with a rotisserie chicken recipe and a second recipe later on how I prep my supper. So if you have any questions, please reach out. Make sure you're interacting in the group, because every time that you answer any of those questions that I've been putting out there, you will get ballots into the door prize. Don't forget that every order over $100, you qualify for a free gift. And this month is the Measure, Mix, and Pour, so you can make your own salad dressing at home. It's really awesome. It comes with pre-made recipes on the side as well. And orders over $200 are free shipping. And then lastly, our major electronics, so our air fryer, our blender, our quick cooker, are all 25% off this month as well. So I hope you have a fantastic Monday. I am going to put away my cooking ingredients and clean up our kitchen a little bit. And then when these are done, I'll snap a picture and post it below. Have a great day.